All right, well, the preseason is over. The Flyers fall in the final game uh, of their six-game preseason this year, and there were a lot of things to take out of this game. Obviously, there was obviously a mix-up on lines because of Morgan Frost being sent down. These were the lines that were run at practice yesterday, and the lines for the game: Giroux, Couturier, and Konechny, Farabee, Brassard, Atkinson, Lindblom, Lawton, JVR, Wilson, Thompson, and Aube-Kubel. D pairs are the same: Provy, Ellis, Sanheim, Risto, Yandel, Braun. York was a scratch, and Martin Jones gets the full game in this one. As for the offense, let's just break this down for a minute. Giroux, Couturier, Konechny has been together since literally day one of camp. That's perfect. The lines looked really good. Keep it together. And they definitely did gel tonight. They had a goal. Giroux scored. Farabee with Brassard and Atkinson. You have two of your shooters getting put on a line there. You have some pretty good defensive, that's a very good defensive line too, with Atkinson and Farabee, and Brassard isn't really known for his defense, but he's not bad at it. Lindblom with Lawton and JVR, that does break up JVR and Farabee together, which I've talked about before is really good, but again, Lawton going in between them is perfect. And, Wilson with Thompson and Aube-Kubel, that's nothing special. I don't know too much about Wilson, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not going to make it like I do either. He's a guy that could possibly get his contract switched around and, could end up making a spot. And looks like he's had a good enough chance to make the team. And obviously playing tonight was huge for him. So maybe we'll see him on the final roster, the opening night roster for the Flyers. But obviously the D pairs, as I said, those were the same. And I think a lot of them have looked good as well. So pretty early on, the Flyers, they had a good mix of shifts together where they had offensive zone time. They moved the puck. They cycled it well. Didn't have many shots. Sanheim had a shot early, easy glove save for Samsonov, excuse me. They had a 2-on-2, led to a Provorov shot from the side. Lawton ended up picking off a pass, led to some zone time, and a pretty good shift there by that third line. It was literally all Flyers in the first 3 minutes, and they get a power play. Orlov tripped up Thompson. Almost set up Couturier for a one-timer, rolled over a stick. Would have been a nice setup if they got a shot off, and then ended up going out. They had a couple setups, really not much going on. They've been a little hesitant to shoot, but they have generated chances, and they have scored. They've scored 2 power play goals in the last 4 games. Power play didn't score tonight, but in the games where we saw most of the veterans in that first unit power play, they've scored. So it's looked good. It's just it's going to take some time, and I'm not really too worried about it, if I'm being honest with you. Sanheim had a really good stick check off an attempted pass down low, broke it up, set up a breakout the other way. Kuznetsov had the first Capitals chance, circled around the net, fired it high. Jones had a nice save on Hathaway in front. Puck came right out of a pass from Malenstein. I really thought I was going to butcher that as I was doing this, as I'm reading over my notes, but I didn't, so that was cool. Wilson almost set up Thompson off of a pass in front. That was one of the fourth line's best offensive chances in the first. They didn't have many throughout the game, but that was definitely one of them. Jones had a good save on Wilson off of the draw, nice pad save, easily his best save in the first handful of minutes. And this is a little bit worrisome here for Capitals fans. Ovechkin ended up hitting Konechny and something tweaked in his right leg. He went off. He got off on his own power. He limped off, but he did not come back. And again, it being a preseason game makes sense for him not to come back. But definitely not the best thing you want to see. It doesn't seem like it's serious from what we heard from the TV broadcast, but definitely not good there for Caps fans. And then the Capitals ended up scoring. Yandel had attempted to pass the puck over to Braun on a play where it just kind of squibbled out in front, and he tried to just pass it over to move it up. Yandel didn't really have other play besides that, and he kind of fanned on it looked like, and Eller kind of just got a little piece of it and tipped it, and it went right by Jones there. So the fourth line was stuck in the defensive zone with the third pair out there, and I don't think that happened during the game after that. I think every time the fourth line was out there, they either had the first pair with Provorov and Ellis, or obviously, by default, they would have had the Sanheim Ristolainen pair out there, but I don't think that happened before. Or I don't think that happened after the goal, excuse me. Farabee had a nice chance from the slot, pretty good shift from that line there, off a 2-on-1 chance by Brassard and Provorov. Brassard ended up hitting Provorov, he went to the net. Provorov's pass got a flag down. Some back and forth play for the most part there in the first, not much going on. Power play here for the Flyers again. Giroux drew a hold. Flyers set up Konechny for a shot. A slot shot off the draw, fired it wide. Beautiful setup. Arguably one of the best setups we've seen from the power play in really all of the preseason in the 6 games from that unit. Just fired it wide. Konechny had a lot of chances where he was set up, either fanned on it or missed the net or whatever. But again, he's definitely getting back to that old Travis Konechny that we've seen from before. End of the period, it was okay for the Flyers. They had their mojo going. They didn't have as many offensive chances as of late. Capitals definitely owned majority of that period. Shots on goal were 12-6 in favor of the Capitals after one. Starting off the second period, Konechny almost set up Drew for a goal. Deflected puck goes up high. That was a couple minutes in, and then the Caps would score off a turnover from Atkinson behind the net. He tried to reverse it back to Ristolainen, and Ristolainen was already cheating up the ice because I don't think he expected him to go backwards. And he goes backwards. Puck was sent around the other way. Caps got it. Carlson just found himself wide open. He fired it. Sniped it over the glove, high glove. It might have hit a piece of the crossbar. I don't know if it went bar down, but it was a very nice shot. 2-0 there. Giroux found Konechny on a 3-on-2. He fanned on it as soon as he went to shoot it. He kind of dragged it and kind of got poke checked by Orlov a little bit. I think this shift here is what started it for the Flyers. They had that 3-on-2 chance. It was a good play, and then they had a couple good shifts in a row off of that chance. Yandel almost hit Lawton low for a chance in the corner. I would rather see Yandel shoot that, but again, he didn't really have that much of a lane, and we've seen Yandel do that a couple of times where he's had a guy go to the net. There was a play in the first game that we saw Yandel play. He had a nice setup there to find Brassard in tight. He's had some plays where he's found guys in the slot, or they've tried for chances or tips to try to get it to the net from the slot and things like that. So that wasn't a bad play either, but I understand why he passed that puck. Aubé-Kubel hit Jensen up high, definitely got away with one there. That was a couple minutes before these chances for the Flyers, but they ended up showing it on the Capitals TV broadcast. They kind of brought it up, and that's definitely one that Aubé-Kubel got away with. It was a pretty high hit, and he had 2 penalties in the last game against the Islanders. He got away with one against Boston in the Boston game, and I've seen Bill Meltzer talk about it, and I talked about it on my recent episode of Don't Panic with Yuri Wallach. And that was one of them things where, like, he's gotten away with some penalties. He did have a fight in this game as well, but I mean, obviously last year the penalties for Aubé-Kubel were not good. And this is where the Flyers get all their goals. Giroux would score again. Couturier almost hit Konechny in the slot for a one-timer. Continued pressure by that line. Coots and TK made a nice play off the wall. Konechny kind of stripped the Caps defenseman. Coots kind of came and picked it up. Orlov made a great diving play to poke the puck away on a partial 2-on-1 from Couturier and Giroux. And then Coots would send a puck. It hit off the side of the net, and Giroux kind of got down and got the possession on it and just kind of tucked it 5-hole on Samsonov. That line was communicating literally for a set play off the draw twice. They did it once, won the face-off, shot from the point. They was trying to go for a tip in front from Couturier, shot from Ellis. It was attempted to be tipped, missed it. Samsonov, easy glove save. They go for the face-off again. That's when all the pressure starts. They get that play in front, and then Giroux would score. A couple minutes later, Atkinson would get a play where Carlson had the puck at the blue line for the Capitals. Looked like it was just going to be a simple shot to the net. And he makes a great play with his stick, goes up on a 2-on-1, looks like he's going to pass, freezes Samsonov, fires it high glove. 2 goals in a minute, 16 seconds there for the Flyers. If there was a play that literally could describe Cam Atkinson, that's it. Like, that play was perfect. It was executed perfectly. And again, I really don't know what else to say. I mean, that was just a perfect play, and the Flyers tie the game there. They definitely got their game back. They had a handful of good shifts in a row, starting from the top line. And Lawton looked very noticeable. He had a couple good plays to keep the puck alive on that shift from that third line there. Then the Flyers would get a power play. They didn't have much going on. Konechny would shank one again. He had a handful of chances in this game. He either missed the net, fanned on the puck, whatever. And again, I think it's just, it's still preseason, so I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to overanalyze it too much, but again, it would be nice if TK could get a couple of these all on net or but he definitely has looked good. It's nothing against him. He's looked very good. 4-on-4, Wilson, Hathaway had matching minors. Jones had a really nice save in front of a Capitals chance. And then Atkinson would score again on a knuckle puck. It was just kind of a drop pass from Kuznetsov, and Atkinson read the play perfectly. I mean, that's another play from Atkinson that you're going to read it. I know it was a weird goal, but the defensive play turned into an offensive play, and he was able to kind of get the play going there, and then he tipped it right through Orlov's legs, just fired it, went off his stick, and it literally just, dipped. It wasn't anything crazy. Samsonov read it. He just missed it, and the Flyers had the lead there. Wilson ended up Garrett Wilson ended up fighting with Oshie, and then Sprong had a shot that went wide low, Pretty big hit by Wilson there on Kempney. It looked high, but it didn't look like it was anything crazy. Really nice breakout from Ellis in the dying seconds of this period. It was such a clean play. Like Provorov dropped it, Ellis threw it up. Atkinson hit Provorov flying up the wing, and it was just like a beautiful 2-on-2. Brassard drove to the net, and Provorov went for a backhand wide. That was, oh my God, it was such a nice play. If they scored that, that would have been beautiful. End of 2, a lot better period for the Flyers. They were forechecking. They kept plays alive. They had, and again, they scored 3 goals, 2 in a minute, 16 seconds, like I mentioned. Shots on goal were 22-20 in favor of the Caps, 14-10 Flyers in the period. In the third, this is where the Caps kind of get back into this one. Sprung almost chipped one by Jones on a partial breakaway. It just rolled just wide, and they started to get some pressure. They get a power play. Lawton on a hold. I wasn't really too sure that was a penalty, if I'm being honest with you. It was kind of a weak call. Unless it was something prior, but I went back and I rewinded it twice. I skipped 30 seconds again, and I'm like, they called that the penalty? I'm like, as I'm watching, I'm like, all right, maybe it's something different. And then as it's developing, I'm like, that was the penalty. I'm like, that really wasn't that much of a hold. Wilson scored on a shot from Schultz from the point. It hit the dasher and just came right through everybody's legs. Like, it just went through like everyone's 5-hole, and Wilson just fired it, and it went top corner. So 3-3. And then it was like 10 seconds later, I literally was finishing typing the note from the third goal, and they scored again. It was like a 3-on-2. Sprong fires it, and Jones is just down like this. Like, he's got his glove up here, blockers here, and he just looks at it and just goes high blocker. I'm like, oh, okay. So AV challenged it. As I was watching, I was like, that might be offside. And then he fired. I'm like, okay, I guess not. So anyway, that goal overturned. 3-3 again. And then seconds later, the Caps would score again. Mantha would make it 4-3 on a 2-on-1. Ellis had a shot from the point that couldn't get through. That's one of them rough plays where, like, Ellis is a guy where you see, like 85-90% of his shots get through the net, and the one that doesn't ends up in the back of your net, which sucks. Really nice play from Sheary there, though. He froze Provorov like it was a statue, and just sent it through. So 2-on-1, and they score, make that 4-3. Albie Capel and Jensen, that fight I was talking about before, pretty good scrap. And then the Flyers kind of just fell apart in the first 5 minutes of that period. They really couldn't get much back. They didn't have many chances. Couturier hit a post, and it wasn't like a crazy, like, post like shot where it's like, oh, they rang it or something like that. It kind of like deflected off the post on the outside and went wide. Washington had a 4-minute power play. Coots was in the box. Flyers penalty kill looked good there. They were pretty aggressive when they could be. They cleared the puck when they were able to. The Caps didn't have, I don't think they had a single shot in the first like 3 minutes of that. They had, I believe, 1 or 2, but they weren't any like crazy chances or anything like that. And then 4-on-4, the Flyers would get a power play off Farabee getting pretty roughed up by Tom Wilson there. He hit one of the Caps players. I believe it was one of their younger guys, and he hit him, and it was kind of at the numbers, but it didn't look like it was that bad of a hit. And then Wilson just jumped him and got the rough. And then as I said, I wrote it down here. The Flyers really lost their mojo, and they did. I mean, they couldn't get much going. Farabee almost hit Atkinson on a rush chance. That was their best chance through really the most of the period. There was like 6 minutes left. And then Sanheim was robbed in front of a really good forecheck by Lawton. There was a hit behind the play, and it looked like the Caps didn't really defend it well, getting back on the back check. And Sanheim was robbed in front. That was probably one of the Flyers' best chances. And then they had an empty net with around 2 minutes left. And then they had a horrible change at the red line. And it was just a whole miscommunication and just terrible zone entry, and then the Caps would just like fire it. I believe it was Provorov. He dropped the puck, or it might have been Couturier. He dropped the puck, and then the guy coming off the bench had to come and get it because that's how late it was. Like, the change was just terrible. But overall, solid game. I mean, for the most part, it wasn't the best effort from the Flyers, but again, they had a pretty good second period. You saw some good things. I thought Jones had a solid game, if I'm being honest with you. The PK looked better. The power play looked okay. And, now that the preseason's over, there's a lot of things we can talk about. But, again, I don't want to overanalyze the preseason because there's a lot of things that you can look at and say they did well and they didn't do well, whatever. But I think there was a lot of positives from the Flyers preseason. I think the Giroux-Couturier connecting line looks good. Obviously, there's a question mark with the line still because these are the first game where you saw a new lineup, and we'll see as it goes on going into the first game of the season here if the Flyers will use these lines more or there'll be a switch. But for the most part, I do like these lines. I do. Again, as I said, Farabee with Brassard and Atkinson is good because you have the defensive side of the wingers and things like that. And then Lindblom with Lawton and JVR. Again, that's a good, solid line that can provide offense. And, obviously Lindblom is a very good defensive winger as well. JVR can still score, but it does suck that Farabee is broken up with JVR because those guys have a lot of chemistry. But overall, I think this is going to be a fun season for the Flyers for sure. It's going to be different, and again, I think for the most part, when you go into this year, there's a lot of expectations. Obviously, everybody's going to bring up last year, so I think for the Flyers, you just have to go out and play your game. I think everything that they've done, we've seen a lot of good things, so hopefully that can continue. And now we have the first game of the season coming up. Remember, guys, podcasts, articles, those links are on my channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.